Wednesday morning. My name is Rob Dauster. The gentleman you see there with me is Jeffrey Goodman. Jeff, what's going on, man? How you doing? It was a wild night in college basketball last night.
Good night. It was like I did not expect it to be and sometimes those are the best nights, right? You look at it and you're like, just okay. It's not really doing a whole lot for me, but it's like one after the other. And listen, Sparty started it off, didn't they? They started off with a bang, like a resounding win for Sparty. And now there's 75 in the net. I just checked. They've got 3 quad one wins, and they've got plenty of opportunities left. Now, I don't know if you believe that Tom Izzo has turned this thing around and figured it out, but I'll say, like, Aaron Henry's playing some really, really good basketball. Josh Langford was terrific last night. And, Illinois, still, I got to say, I'm still not completely a buyer in Illinois being a Final Four team. I just don't trust them showing up every single night. I don't.
I think the biggest issue with Illinois is that they can really only beat you in one way, right? They have to have Ayo playing well, and they have to have Kofi playing well, and there's only certain things. Both those guys are pretty limited in terms of what they can do. They're great at the things that they can do, but if you take those things away, if you could limit Ayo getting downhill to his right hand, we saw Maryland do that earlier this year, then you can kind of keep him in control and hem him in. If you can keep Kofi Coburn from completely dominating the paint and get physical with him and get him frustrated and get
him to the line. Just get him in the line over and over and over. Just don't give him dunks.
Yeah, I mean, all of that. That's how you beat them. And Michigan State did that last night. I also think it's important to note that part of the reason Michigan State is playing better is because Tom Izzo has gone with this lineup where he's playing Rocket Watts at the point with Aaron Henry, Gabe Brown, Joey Hauser, putting in all those like big long wings. And who's the guy I'm missing? Josh Langford. So he's playing small, and he's getting like 4 wings on the floor at the same time. And
Gabe Brown's the one that's getting a lot of minutes now. I think that, and obviously Rocket. I think Izzo's whole deal, I'm sure, and I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm sure the deal with Rocket was we're not going to play him if he's not doing what he needs to be doing for Michigan State basketball. And maybe he's doing that now. Maybe he's bought in, or maybe Izzo's just like, F it. I don't, at this point, this is all we got. Rocket's one of our – I mean, the one thing with Rocket Watts is he can make plays. You got to live with this.
Part of it is he's playing within himself. When you have 13 points, 5 assists, and you're not throwing the ball all over the court and taking 27 shots in a game and none of them are good shots, like that's big. That matters for him and for Michigan State. So, I thought that Michigan State is playing better. I thought that performance specifically had a lot to do with matchups as opposed to anything else. Like we mentioned this last night on the locker room, but when Illinois has their 5 best players on the floor, like they're so small. They have 2 guards that are under 6 foot. They have Adam Miller at the 3. He's like 6'3", and they have Ayo basically playing the 4. So that's their best 5. I don't think people realize how small that team is when they have their best 5 on the floor. And again, when you have
Michigan State only took 8 threes last night. How about
that? That's part of it too. They got to the basket anytime they wanted. Just kind of took advantage of the size and the length that they had on the wings. So in terms of like whether or not they're going to get into the NCAA tournament, I mean, look, they don't have the resume right now to get a bid, but they don't have any bad losses to their name, right? And they still have 3 games against top 5 teams. They get Maryland on the road, and I believe don't they play Indiana again as well? I think
they do. They got Indiana at home. Here's their schedule: is Ohio State at home, at Maryland, Indiana home, and then 2 against Michigan to end it. That's a lot of games, by the way. In the last
5 games, so
5 games. We're less than 3. I mean, we're like 2.5 weeks away from the selection center. This is crazy. How many games they have?
Yeah. So, if they go 3-2 in that stretch, which is very doable for them, they're in. They're dancing. They're going to the tournament, and
as long as you don't lose your first game of the Big Ten tournament, I think it's hard.
It's not going to.
You can't say that.
Yes, I can. I can absolutely say that because that will put them at 5 quadrant 1 wins, right? It's good that their net playing 5 five.
Yeah,
Top
it's
five
going to go up. No matter what, it's going to go up.
Yeah, 5 quadrant one wins.
Yeah,
this year is going to
they
get you
in the mid 50s in the net with their name being Michigan State.
Honestly, I don't think it matters. 5 quadrant one wins. 5 quadrant one wins. 2 wins over top 5 scoring.
Just give me a Duke Michigan State first 4, please. Like, I would be so excited.
Champions Classic to the first 4. All right, let's talk a little bit about Oklahoma and Kansas State, because that's definitely a game that we have to talk about, because Oklahoma State lost to the Wildcats. It reinforced something that I've thought for a while, that Oklahoma's probably a little bit overvalued at this point.
See, I don't believe that. I just think this was one of those where, honestly, not a throwaway game, but Kansas State did a good job defensively, at least when I was watching. I didn't watch this whole game because, honestly, I couldn't watch those damn uniforms for a whole game. Those uniforms were the ugliest goddamn thing I've ever seen. The only one who looked good in whatever color that was, what color was that? That's not purple.
I don't know, but Kansas State did or Oklahoma did kind of give that one away. They were up by 6 with like 3 minutes left and gave up an 11-0 run. But I mean,
unless they can get Brady Manick back, Oklahoma's, they're going to be in trouble, because, like, to me, again, I love those 3 guards. I really do. I love Austin Reeves. Obviously, Devian Harmon's terrific, and Gibson's been really good, especially shooting the ball. But if they don't have Brady Manick making shots, I don't know what he was last night. I think he made like 1 field goal or something.
He was 1 for 7 from the floor.
If you look at his numbers, look at what he's done since he came back from COVID. He's been awful shooting the ball. His confidence is completely shaken. And if they can't get him back, they're probably a 1 and out at best in the NCAA tournament. If they can get him going. And, like, that's all. If I'm Lon Kruger, that's like all I care about now, is like, how can we get Brady Manick easy shots to get his confidence up, so that eventually he's not thinking when he's shooting the ball from the perimeter, because he gives him a completely different option beyond those 3 guards, and they have to have it. They have to.
Yeah. I just still, again, it's a team where I don't know if they have a pro on the roster. And when you don't have a pro on the roster, it's very hard for me to believe in you as more than just kind of like a good team. They're good. They're a tournament team. But this idea that they're one of the top 10 teams in college basketball is just that one doesn't make any sense to me at all. All right, you got anything else from last time? We probably have to talk about Baylor.
How are you not going to talk about the return of the Baylor Bears and the fact that they almost lost?
Did. I literally just said we got to talk about Baylor.
All right, well, get to it.
Go ahead. You're the one. You got the takes now. You're in charge.
They were down. You were scared they were going to lose to Iowa State, your team, your Cyclones. I hope you took them yesterday. I know I did.
Of course I did.
23.5. That was like the easiest one of all time. To me, again, you have a 3-week layoff, and it's not just a 3-week layoff. It's the fact that Scott Drew came back from this and decided to play a game so quickly, when a team like Michigan took like 9 days before they played their first game. Scott Drew, they practiced twice. So you knew they were going to be rusty, Rob. They kind of got away with one here for the most part. And I just thought, like, at the end of the game, man, like that play that Jared Butler made, getting the basket, it was just so sweet. Like, he's so underrated. And I know that's crazy to say, but it's true. When you talk about a guy who's, I know you laughed at me with the David Duke comments earlier this year, being one of the better all-around guards, top 5 all-around guards in college basketball. Jared Butler might be number 1 all-around guard. He might be. I mean, really, really good defensively, could score in a variety of ways, can make people better. Obviously, they play with 2-point guards, so that helps. So his numbers aren't going to be great because he's on a team with a lot of weapons. But if you put him in another team, if you put him on Illinois, say, what would Jared Butler's numbers look like?
I mean, they'd look really good. I don't know if they'd necessarily be all that much better than what he has right now. And honestly, the numbers aren't the thing that stands out to me. He's an automatic first-team All-American, like, without any kind of question. So, like, what else do you want from him?
I just don't think enough people talk about him like he's an automatic first-team All-American. I think it's Garza, Io. You got the guys.
He hasn't played in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about with Jared? Like, he hasn't played in 3 weeks. We haven't seen him, and he came out today. And he came out last night. He was.
I've actually seen him. I've talked to him a couple times through that.
It was. Yeah. I mean, look, the big thing with Baylor was they had 2 practices before they played. And those guys were like stuck in their room, and our Baylor podcast had their strength and conditioning coach on, who basically said like those guys weren't really allowed to do anything. They were sneaking in like air squats and jump squats and push-ups when they were in their rooms and they were isolated, but like that was it. So it wasn't a surprise to me that they looked as rusty as they did. And I think you made the point that when Michigan came back from theirs, they had a week worth of practices to kind of get back up to speed a little bit, and they still came out slow against Wisconsin and had to make a comeback in that game as well. What about Texas making that comeback? They were down by 14 in the second half and came back and beat Kansas in Orange.
That was the biggest win of the night. That was the biggest, most important win of the night because it's a team that could actually do something. Mm-hmm. Like if they get their act together, which they look fine. Like there were no more arguments, at least that I saw.
Well, there was a moment in the second half when the whole team was on the bench during the comeback, and Courtney Ramey walked down the bench and just was like yelling at everyone, like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go!" Like, and Andrew Jones was one of those guys. So it's.
Did you think Andrew was going to like punch him or something?
No, it was good to see that they kind of like they moved past it. You know, it's one of those things where sometimes you just kind of have to get it out, right? Like sometimes you got this built up frustration, this pent up frustration, and
you don't think I know that? You don't think I know that for the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, you have to say what you have to say sometimes and get it off your chest. And
you want me to do that right now? You want me to say what I got to say about working with you for the last few months?
Well, I mean, you've been saying it, so like you say it every day. Yeah, but I mean, that was big because if Texas can get it going, like that's. To me, they are the team that has the highest ceiling in the Big 12, not named Baylor.
Yeah,
right. Like they're the team that if they get it going, they can make it the farthest in the NCAA tournament. I look, West Virginia can beat anybody on the right day when their shots are going down, but it's hard for me to buy into a team that struggles defensively the way that they struggle. Kansas just does not have – they don't have the ceiling that other teams do because they don't have that go-to guy, that star player. I don't think there's – like Oklahoma, whatever, Texas Tech, meh.
Yeah.
It's Texas. If they can get it going, they're the second best team in the Big 12. Anything else? UConn got it going last night. Villanova got it going last night. Your Johnnies
Johnnies did not. I actually had a good night. I don't know what this clown's saying. Akron, Missouri, St. Louis, and St. John's weren't good, but Louisville, Florida, Iowa State. I had Nebraska. I had UConn. I had Pacific. So I had a good night actually. I made some money yesterday, so I feel good.
Yeah, I did too. I'm back getting winning ways. And yeah, Joe. I mean, Nova's looking good. The big thing for me is that they're starting to defend better than they were before. Like that to me. That's kind of where Villanova turns into a national title contender again. You know, they're a little bit like, as weird as this is going to sound, they're a little bit like Iowa in the sense that they have not been nearly good enough on the defensive end of the floor to be able to consider them like a national title contender at this point right now. That doesn't mean they can't get there, but at this point, like they've had issues on that end, and some of it is just like their legs being in shape. Some of it is the fact that Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Colin Gillespie are just not great defenders.
Yeah, that's my problem. I just don't know if they've got the athleticism to be great defensively. That's my bigger issue with this Villanova team, to be honest. I like them. I don't love them. But again, I'm not going to discount any Villanova team right now. All right. Sam wants us
hold on. Real
Sam wants us to move.
Yeah, no, hold on. Before you, we got to talk about Brian Antoine's back. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see he came back.
Yeah, Brian Antoine played, which is like, I don't think it has much impact on this season for Villanova. But it's nice to see that dude getting a chance. Like he's had
11 minutes.
Yeah, he's had such bad shoulder injuries and multiple shoulder surgeries.
He can shoot it, man. I'll tell you what. I saw him play a ton with Scotty Lewis on the AU circuit. Brian Antoine can shoot the shit out of it. So, I kind of hope he's able to figure in. I don't know how he'll play a whole lot, but in a game like that,
get on the court, get your legs under you, get healthy, and be ready to go and be a star next season.
Yes, SD. I still think BC should have hired Mike Hopkins. Absolutely. I think if you kept him in the Northeast, here's the difference with Mike Hopkins. Right now, he doesn't have any talent at Washington. Last year, it sucked. Right, last year, McDaniels wasn't really a team guy. Didn't have a point guard. Quade Green's not good enough. He's not really a point. If you put Mike Hopkins in New England, okay, which is his sweet spot for recruiting. Everybody loves him here. Everybody in the prep schools loves him here. They would send guys to him at Boston College. He got Isaiah Stewart all the way out from New York to Seattle. He would have got him at Boston College. Again, I would try to hire him now. I mean, they can't because he's got a $12 million buyout, I guess, or if they fire him, he's owed $12 million. And if he's smart, he gets one more year at Washington, and Boeheim's done coaching maybe both of his kids next year, and the stars align, and he still gets a job as the coach at Syracuse.
All right, let's talk about tonight's slate. The biggest game of the day is probably Alabama at Arkansas. Right now, over at Bet Rivers, that line is Arkansas -2. Believe it or not, that total is 156. Jeffrey, how are you feeling?
I kind of like Arkansas here. That's why I'm not wearing the Alabama hat today. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it with this Alabama team. I don't think they've played nearly as well over the last few weeks. I don't know if you can completely trust them at this point. I like the fact that they've got Jordan Bruner back, but I still think it's going to take time for them to get back. And I think Arkansas is playing really good basketball right now. They've beaten some good teams lately. Some quality wins. What would they be? Florida and Missouri? Missouri.
They won 4 in a row. They won at Kentucky in that mix. And they have another one. Hold on. I'll bring it up. Keep talking.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, again, this is a much bigger game for them than it is for Alabama. And I think they're going to be hyped up. I think the Must Bus is going to be completely full for this one. And I expect to see some shedding of the shirt after the game. I mean, who is it going to be? Muss shedding his shirt, or is it going to be Nate Oates? That's the big question. And I think Muss is probably much more in shape than Nate Oates is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I just want to double check, but I'm pretty sure that Alabama basically has the SEC regular season title locked up. Yeah, they're 3 games. They're 3 games up with basically 3 games left, and they still get Mississippi State and Auburn. So they just have to win one more game in there. They have the SEC regular season title locked up, which, I mean, once you get past that, you're basically playing for seeding. And
they're playing for a 1 seed overall is what they're still doing. That 4th one.
We've seen over the years like that's not the greatest motivation to get kids to play. Like when you're not playing for a championship, it's hard to kind of we got to win this game so we get a 1 seed. It's like
especially this Alabama team that honestly has shown over the course of their careers that haven't been the most reliable emotionally and getting up for every game. So it'll be interesting in this one.
So I think I actually like the over in this spot more than either side.
Okay. I can see that.
We know how fast Alabama wants to play. They played the second fastest pace in the country, but Arkansas is also willing to get out and run as well. We've seen them do that. The only concern that I have is that I do think that that Muss is the kind of coach that will just kind of slow it down and not play into Alabama's hands. Like I don't think that you want to play fast against them. And the other part of it, if he does that, Alabama actually is the second best defense in college basketball. They are very good at that.
Amazing to me.
So amazing. It's a little concerning to me that total has creeped up to 156.
Yeah.
So I don't love it, but I definitely don't want to be on the under in this spot because I think that this is going to be up and down and a shootout. So I'm probably going to be on the over as opposed to either side. If you force me to pick a side, I think Arkansas is the play. I mean, they can match up with what Alabama wants to do in terms of spacing the floor. And I do think that that Muss has been willing to not play. Like the big thing with them, and for me, and part of the reason why it's hard for me to buy into Arkansas is because like Connor Vanover is still playing like 20 minutes a game. But in league play, as they've kind of made this run of late, his numbers have kind of gone down a little bit, and Muss has been willing to play guys other than him, because if you have Connor Vanover chasing around Jordan Bruner on the perimeter, that's not a good thing for Arkansas long term. So I would expect to see a lot more of other guys at the 5 there. I kind of like their lineups when they go full small, when Arkansas does, and I think that's the best way to match up with Alabama.
Vanover's just a guy that, depending on matchups, he can affect the game, but he's a face-up, big. You don't want him out there and shooting threes, and he's not he's not immobile, but he's not the guy that you want.
He's pretty immobile, and he's real skinny. He's just really I love watching him play, just because it's like you got the 7'3" dude out here chucking 25-foot threes. I laugh every single time he shoots one. All right, next most important game of the day is, I don't know.
It's not a great slate in terms of games that you're like, I gotta watch. Like, again, Florida State, Miami. Like, I like Florida State there, given the 11.5, just because I don't trust Miami, and I think they're, kind of a dead team for the most part.
I love, not to cut you off, sorry, but I love Florida. Like, my favorite bet of the day is Florida State -11.
Yeah, me too.
They can overwhelm you with their length and athleticism. Miami doesn't really have a point guard on the roster because Chris Likes is all banged up, and like it does kind of feel like
all year.
Yeah,
no Likes, no Matt Cross, who transferred. Like they're down 3 of their top 4 players from the start of the season.
And at this point, it's very hard to for them to like keep playing as hard as they would. Like they scrapped for a while and they picked up some big wins. Isaiah Wong has been unbelievable, but like now we're at the end of the season.
By Georgia Tech their last game, Rob. Blown out.
You got to start saying blown out. You got to get the out.
I said that, blown out.
You got to get the out in there.
All right, well.
Otherwise, you're going to be getting too excited about talking about these picks.
What other games are like really of major consequence? Indiana Rutgers. Indiana Rutgers is the biggest game, probably the biggest game of the day, because if Indiana wins this, I feel like we say this every time Indiana plays. If Indiana wins this, they're in pretty good shape for the tournament. If they don't, but even when they win one, then they lose another one the next time, and you're like, they're back on the bubble again. Rutgers,
they're very much. I think Rutgers is probably like fairly safe as long as they don't do anything horrible down the stretch. But like Indiana's got to get some wins. And I feel like after the loss to Michigan State, blowing that lead, like it feels like the pitchforks are starting to come out for Archie. Like that, those fans have never really been happy.
They've been out. They've been out for 2 years.
I'm saying it's been a lot. Like you can't blow that lead and not have Indiana fans in uproar. And now it's like you see there are guys like Zach Osterman had a column that was basically like if we're not winning this game, like where are we going from here? And Zach Osterman is like a level-headed guy that's not going to go out there. He's a beat writer for the Indy Star, and he's not going to go out like he ain't going after Archie just to go after Archie, right? He's not the kind of guy that's going to do that just for clicks. So when he's like, okay, what's going on here? That's when it's kind of like, well, maybe the writing is on the wall at this point. Who do you like there? Rutgers is laying 3.5 at home.
Yeah, I'll take Rutgers. I just don't trust anybody on Indiana not named Trace Jackson Davis. How's that? Not one guy on their team that you know what you're going to get every single night other than Trace. Rutgers went through that awful stretch, but I thought, they've rebounded from that pretty well. They beat Indiana earlier this year. It was a close game, but, I think Rutgers, again, they haven't been great lately, but I think at home, and again, I know the fans, it's not the rack, but I just think, to me, 3.5, I think Rutgers covers.
Yeah, the big thing is going to be Miles Johnson and whether or not he gets into foul trouble for me. He's a guy that can actually defend Trace Jackson Davis, and it's not like they have anyone else that has really been effective, kind of in that position. I don't think that Big Cliff. He's a great athlete and a great rim protector and a great guy rolling to the rim.
He's not ready for this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough matchup for him. So, like, if Miles Johnson can stay out of foul trouble, which is no guarantee, I think that they have a pretty good shot. Just because, like, Rutgers has so many little guards that are able to penetrate. But the most important thing for them, like, Rutgers is never going to be able to hit their ceiling if Ron Harper Jr. does not get out of this, like, massive slump that he's been in.
He was so good early in the year. We were like, remember, he was through the first, like, 10 games, he was like a first-team All-American candidate, and then he just came down to earth completely.
Yeah, so he finally hit a 3 against Michigan to kind of break this streak where he missed, but that was the first 3 that he hit since the last time that they played Indiana on January 24th.
Oh, man.
In the last month, here we are. Here we go. I'm going to add it all up. 0 for 6 against Michigan, 0 for 4 against Northwestern, 0 for 2 against Minnesota, 0 for 4 against Iowa, 0 for 3 against Northwestern. That's 0 for 19 total. 1 for 4 against Michigan. That's 1 for 23. And 0 for 4 against Maryland, their last loss. He's 1 for his last 28 from 3. In that game against Indiana, he was only 1 for 5.
Hey, Joe, on Seton Hall, they gotta. I mean, I think they gotta probably win these last 3. They got Butler on the road here tonight. Then a week they get UConn at home. That's a huge one. And then you can't slip up and lose to St. John's on the road. I think you might need all 3 and then do some work in the Big East tournament.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Bracket Matrix has Seton Hall in right now.
Wow.
Think about it like this: like the team that is kind of right on the cut line right now for Bracket Matrix is Wichita State and Stanford,
right?
And St. Louis and Richmond and
So it's amazing. I mean, it is amazing. We look at it, and a lot of these teams that haven't done a whole hell of a lot, but every year that's the case now. I mean, teams get in at the back end of the tournament now that you're just like, really? Can't we contract?
We've made the point this year over and over again, and I think it deserves reiterating that no one's played a full season, so everybody's profile is going to look a lot worse than it normally does. Yeah. Just because when you're 22 games in, it's normally like the end of January, right? Sometimes in the middle.
You don't have as many if you're Seton Hall. I mean, look at what you had in the non-conference. You lost to Louisville out of the gates. You got Iona. You lost to URI. You lost to Oregon. You're shot. You got Wagner. You have Wagner. You had Penn State. Like, you just didn't have enough in the non. You only had 6 shots instead of 13. Now, some of those will be bye games. They didn't play a lot of bye games this year, but they had a rough start because of their pauses early in the season that really affected them against like URI. They're not losing that game if they play URI.
Right. So what other lines do you like? I kind of like Vanderbilt +7 at home against Tennessee.
You love Stack though.
Vanderbilt's playing better. Like he's coaching them well, man. Like the last. Here's what's happened in their last since they got blown out at home by Arkansas when he called out his team. They lost by 7 at Florida. Yeah. They beat South Carolina at home by 12. They lost by 3 at Georgia. They lost by 6 at home to Auburn. They beat Mississippi State. They lost by 4 at home to Kentucky, and they lost by 4 at Alabama. They've been playing tough. They've been playing close. And it's not like he's done anything to make us be all that impressed by them.
No doubt. Stack is coaching them up, but I'm going to take the 7 and head to the bank. I'm going to lay the 7.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, so you're doing the same thing that I am? Okay.
No, I'm going. Aren't you going with Stack here?
Yeah, but I'm going like the only line that I have a great feel on is Florida State -11. So everything else is just going to be. I want to make sure that we give some picks. I don't love it, so it'll be small. I'll have something on it, but it'll be small for me.
I'm going Tennessee there, laying the points. I'm going Arkansas. I just think that line to me screams. The other one I like St. Bonaventure. To be honest, they're getting 1.5 against at Davidson, and I like the matchup in that one. Davidson's only played twice since January 24th. They lost to St. Bonnie's at St. Bonnie's last week by about 10. So I just like the matchup there. I know we generally like to split when these two teams play within such a short period of time, but I like Mark Schmidt and the Bonnies, and Schmidt's probably doing a little bit of trying to make sure he gets in the mix for that Boston College job at his alma mater too. So,
all right. So two more I want to talk about before we move on. Virginia minus 11 against NC State in the bounce back spot. NC State's banged up.
Yeah.
I feel like the way that NC State wants to play, which is kind of, get up and down, get to the offensive glass, try to force some turnovers.
I don't like it. I don't have a feel for it. I don't have a feel.
Yeah, I don't think that the way that NC State wants to play is the stuff that Virginia is so good at, just shutting down and choking off and cutting off. So I kind of like them there. I like Virginia there. I'm sorry. And then I like Tulane plus 12 at Memphis. It's never going to feel comfortable, but Memphis is coming off of an 18-day pause. So those are the how many is that? So I like Florida State minus 12. I like Tulane plus Florida State minus 11, Tulane plus 12, Arkansas, Alabama over 156, Virginia minus 11, and then Vandy plus 7. That's where I'm going to be tonight. Favorite bet of the day is Florida State. People have been
I'm with you. Florida State. I got Tennessee. I got Arkansas. I got the Bonnies, and I'm going to go Loyola Maryland. They're playing American, and what's the line there? Had it. No, I don't have it. What's the line with that? Loyola.
Let me bring it up. Over, courtesy of our partners at Bet Rivers, is Loyola minus 8.
It's a little high, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with the Greyhounds there. And that's it. Check Bet Spurts. Also, we will have a surprise guest on Friday. Friday morning, we'll have a surprise guest, meaning that Rob Dauster will have no idea who it is, as usual. And I think we'll also do something soon where, Rob, and I don't know how you feel about this. I'm gonna run it by you just because, I think it's the right thing to do here. I think we should bring on a viewer, a loyal viewer, and bring somebody on at some point, maybe next week. We have a day. So make your case. If you want to come on and make an appearance on this, one of you guys that again, is loyal and is here with us every day, let us know. All right. So you can hit me. You should see on Twitter, I believe I have my email address. So make sure you email me or DM me. DMing me on Twitter is fine too. So
as long as it's not that PJ guy from St. John's.
Yeah, PJ, no, PJ. I don't think he gets up this early to listen to the stream. I think he's still recovering, Should be in school. He's a sophomore in high school, supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly. All right. We will see you guys again tomorrow.